Hello, everybody. Welcome to uh, Python Lesson 3, Pandas, Part B. In Part A, we saw how we can create a data frame and how we can manipulate a data frame. In this session, we want to see how we can import a data frame. Yes. So just imagine you have an Excel file saved somewhere on your computer and you want to import that file into Python and use it in Python. So for just imagine that, for example, we have on our desktop, we have a folder, for example, called boss 202, yes, or whatever it's called. And then inside that folder, we have another folder called data. And then inside that folder data, we have a Excel file called scores. And we want to import that file scores into Python. So here I go back to Python and I do a bunch of stuff like this. So the very first thing we want to do is import OS and then import pandas as PD. And then first I want to see what's the uh, directory of my Python. Yes, so I run this code os.getcwd and your Python here gives you the directory. So when you are running this code, Python is going to generate your directory, but your directory, your computer's name is not called sazizi1. Yes, it's most likely it's called something else. Let's say it's called, I don't know, flower. Then whatever you get here, you replace this, you copy this word and you here you paste it. Yes. So let's say if it is flower, you just copy it from here and then paste it here for the word sazizi1. Yes. So we are gonna have something like this as directory. So here with this os.ch directory, you can change directory of your file. And then you can run this os get cwd one more time to make sure that it's working well and it's your directory. And after that, you can import this Excel file. So how can you import this Excel file? So with something called pd.read_excel. Now you're going to navigate exactly to that Excel file. How? So it's on my desktop and inside boss 202 without a space and then data and then the file is called scores.xlsx and then here's the file and then inside Excel files they have like different sheets. Yes, so this is the Excel file that I'm talking about and the sheet for this sheet is called sheet 1. So you need also this sheet because we might have like different sheets here. Yes, in Excel you might have sheet 1, sheet 2, or you can might rename like different data sheets as well. But this one is called just sheet 1, which is a first row is all the column names, and then other rows they are like let's say name of a bunch of students, their gender, F or M. We have one observation, row 7, which is index 6, called rather than M male. We are going to correct that later on. Year, if they freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Assignments, let's say what they got on their assignments, exam 1, exam 2, exam 3. And then we have a bunch of, for example, problems with this data set. For example, this observation, final exam, by mistake, it's written 0. Maybe the student took it like later on. So we might want to change that, or here we have a typo. Rather than Jessica, we have Jessenia. We want to change those stuff. But the very first step is to import this data, Excel file. Yes. So I'm gonna here import that. So it's on my desktop, boss202 data, scores.xlsx, comma, sheet name equals, again in quotation mark, sheet 1. So everything here must be in quotation. And then just follow these steps. How can we exactly find a route to a file? So here, if you are using Mac, like I'm using here, one way that you can find a route to a file is this. With clicking on View, and then click on Show Path Bar. So here I can see this users, SSEZ1, desktop, bus202, data, scores.xlsx. That's exactly the path to this file. So we need that path. Now, sometimes students, sometimes like researchers have their desktop is on OneDrive. So if your desktop is on OneDrive, you want to do something like this. OneDrive slash desktop, something like this. So it depends on the location of this file, but essentially you want to have something, you want to navigate to that file. And then if you run this, and then you ask Python what's DF, Python is going to print this DF for you, which has name, gender, year, assignments, exam 1, exam 2, exam 3, final. Another important thing that, for example, we want to do every now and then, we want to, for example, write. So we have a file, for example, now df is a data frame that is known to Python, and we want to, for example, write this or create a data set off of this. How can I do this? So I want to create a data set. Where can I put it? I want to insert it on my desktop, bus202 folder, subfolder data, and I want that file to be called test.xlsx. This is just always we have this for Excel files, but I want the file to be called test. And so again, multiple sheets, we might have multiple sheets. I want to call that sheet just big letter S. And just always have this index false that avoids creating a new column, and just run this. And now if you go back to your desktop bus202 data, you see that now we have a file called created that's called test, lowercase t. You open that up, you can see that now we have this file that it's called test, and this sheet is called uppercase S, and we actually created this Excel file from Python. So now this folder is joined, like here we are using that folder on uh, uh, Python. If you're using Windows, so here you can see it's like the path like this. But if you click, so on Windows, there's like something like this. Path bar is over right here on the top of the folder. You click on that path, and then you get the exact the path routes to the file. So it's very important to have that path route. Again, mine is users, SSZ1, desktop, bus202 data. Yours is going to be different. Your computer is not going to be called SSZ1. And just find that, and you'll be doing this in no time. Another very important format that we always use in importing and exporting files is CSVs. CSV means comma separated values. And so let's work with that a little bit. So initially, let's create a data set. So we saw that in Python part, Pandas part A. So this is how I can create this folder, this file called my_df. And if I create this, so I run this and I ask Python to display this for me. So Python displays this. I have two rows and two columns. Columns are name and height, and rows are index 0, index 1, row Jamie, height 70. So the row name Surush, height 74, name Jamie, height 65. And then I want to write this as a CSV file. How can I do this? With this, the name of data frame, whatever it is, my_df. And then here we had underscore like the name of data frame dot to underscore Excel, you created an Excel format. With to underscore CSV, you can create a CSV file. And then again, just write the path. But here, rather than .xlsx, we are going to have at the end .csv and then comma, again, index file, false. Yes. So just run this. And now if I go back to my folder here, I can see that, oh, I have a CSV file. So it's a comma separated file. You can open these CSV files in different formats. In Mac, the default program that opens up CSV files is Mac Numbers. However, if you want to, for example, open this up with Excel or any other programs, you can easily do that. Just right click on it and then open with, let's say, Microsoft Excel, and you can open up that file with Excel. Yes. So this is the way that you can create a CSV file. And then if you, for example, want to read a CSV file, you can easily do that with pd.read underscore CSV. So it's very similar to this, but rather than read underscore Excel, we have read underscore CSV. So I want to create a file, a data frame called df2. Off of this people.csv that now I created on my desktop, bus202 data. So all I had to do is this, to say pd on dot read underscore csv, and then the path, and that's it. And I can read it, and I can ask Python to display this df2 for me, and Python displays this df2 for me now. So I created a data frame. I called it my underscore df. I wrote it. I created a CSV file, called it people.csv on my desktop, bus202 data. And then here I read it. I opened it up in my Python. I called it df2. A common mistakes that sometimes students make when they want to, for example, create this. So here, for example, if this, for example, somehow you have, for example, a file is called, maybe here is not called scores. Yes, it's called scores, I don't know, in parentheses 1 or in parentheses 2. And then you can't read it. The file must be exactly called scores if you want to read it with this line of the code. Yes. If the file has any other names, that must be exactly mentioned here. So here it must be exactly the same name of the file. The sheet name must be exactly here as well. The route must be exactly here. And then these are common mistakes that sometimes students make, and they can't read a data frame. Hopefully, you are able to do this and you are able to read this file. Now, let's get to know our data frame. So these are the common ways that you can get to know your data frame. We are already familiar with that from Python lesson 3, Pandas part A. So let's just review the skills that we had. So to print first 5 observations, we use this df.head. To be honest, it's more common to do this rather than asking Python to print the whole data frame. Why? Because in real life, like sometimes your data frames have billions of rows or millions of rows. And then you don't want to print billions of rows. You want to just, when you want to get to know your data frame, you want to read first 5 observations or last 5 observations. So you are interested in last 5 observations, you say df.tail. Rather than if you want first 5 observations, you want first n observations. So n here is 7. You do this. So here observations index 0 to index 6 are printed. Yes, name Mao, gender M, year, assignments, all the way to Ahmad. Yes. And if you want last n observations, you say df dot tail in parentheses n, which is right here is 6. So it shows me last 6 observations. If you want to obtain some information about the variables that you have, you run this. So it tells me how like all the column names, name, gender, year, assignments, exam 1, exam 2, exam 3, final. Remember this here, some of the columns like gender, year, assignments, and final, they start with capital letters. Exam, I just did it to just tell you that in Python we differentiate between lowercase and uppercase. So exam 1, exam 2, exam 3, they start with lowercase e. If you use uppercase e, you're going to get an error. It shows how many non-null observations we have for each column, so 29. So we don't have any null observations in this data set. The type of columns that we have, name, gender, and year, they are objects, and the rest of them, they are float 64. So, and it also tells you we have 29 entries from 0 to 28, and we have total of 8 columns. So it gives very valuable information. You can get very valuable information in Python about a data frame with this format, name of data frame dot info parentheses. You can create count, mean, standard deviation, min, 25%, 50%, which is median, and 75%, and max with df.describe. However, it only generates information about float 64, yes? If you have numerical columns, if you have, let's say, objects, it's not gonna produce this information because it doesn't mean like mean of, I don't know, name doesn't mean anything. If you want to get type of variables, just df.d types without parentheses. Shape, how many rows and how many columns you have, df.shape. So the output here is a tuple, yes? And then if you want only, for example, number of rows, which is the first element in the tuple or element index 0, you say df.shape bracket 0. In some cases, we don't care how many columns we have. We just care about the number of rows. df.shape in bracket 0, that gives us that number. And then df.shape in bracket 1 gives us number of columns that we have. If you want list of all of the columns, you just do this, list, and then in parentheses, df.columns. That generates a list that the elements of this list are all the column names. So name, gender, year, assignments, exam 1, exam 2, exam 3, and final. And for categorical variables, you can do something like this, df.gender value counts, yes? So something like this. Now, as a practice, do this, yes? Get value counts for year. So students are either freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. Please pause the video and solve this question right now. Just get the value counts for year. I hope you did this correctly. And all you gotta do is this. So say the name of data frame, which is here. We call this data frame df. And then inside, so first you want to mention the column. How would you mention the column? df bracket quotation and then year. So if I only run this without value count, Python gives out this column year, yes, as a form of series. And then on the top of that, I can just do this dot value counts. Value counts, yes. And then if you run this, Python tells you we have 12 junior students, 8 freshmen, 6 sophomore, and 3 senior students. So this is the way that we get the value counts. Okay, now how to modify a data set? Yes, this is very important to just modify a data set. In Excel, it's Very easy. You just open it and overwrite like each cell that you want to do. In Python, there are two different ways. For example, one way to do this, df, let's say, let's take a look at this, the df, let's say first 7 observations. Yes, df dot head, and then let's say 7. Yes. So let's take a look at first 7 observations. Yes. And as soon as you run this, you see that here for observation index 5, Surush, gender, like by mistake, rather than M, we have male. So we want to change that. Yes, we want to change that male to M. We want to have a same, let's say, pattern. So if how can I do that? How can I change this male to just letter M? One way is to use this at. The syntax is like this: data frame, whatever is the name of the data frame, dot at, and then observation index or row index. Yes. So row index, and then column name. Of course, column name must be in quotation, and everything is in bracket, and then whatever new things that you want to assign. So it's like here we want M, we do this df dot ads, and then row index, which is 5, and then gender, which is a column, and then I want that to be M. Now, if we take a look at gender value counts, so now we have only 18M and 17Fs, yes? Or you can take a look at, for example, per 7 observation one more time, and then you can see that now male has been changed to F, yes? So that's one way. Now, as practice, just do this. Make the gender back to M to male for observation, let's say 6. Yes, observation index 5. Yes, make the gender back to male. So we change it to M, pause the video, just change it back to female, to male. Yes, to just so it was male, we change it to M, change it back to male. So I hope you have done this correctly. All you're gonna do is to maybe copy and paste this. You can easily do this, copy and paste, and then change it to male. Yes. And you see that now, if you take a look at this first 7 observations, you can see that again here for Surush we have male. Yes. Now let's try another way. Let's change this way. Try one more way to another method that we can change observation. So here, rather than mentioning the column name, we just mention column index. So here I'm going to use df.ilog. The syntax is this: df data frame.ilog, and then you had brackets, and then inside a bracket row index, comma column index equals new value. If new value is, for example, numbers, we don't need these quotation marks. If new value is like strings, you need quotation marks. Yes. So just be careful about that. The new value, if it is so if it is it matters if it is a string or it is a number. So here I'm going to do this. Yes. So I'm going to get rid of this quotation mark because It depends if it is a string or let's say a number. But so gender is column index 1. Column index 0 is name. Column index 1 is gender. So I'm going to say df.ilog brackets and then in another bracket for observation index, which is 5, and then comma, another bracket for column index, which is 1. And then I have this as, I'm going to change it to M. Yes. And if I take a look at the first 7 observations, one more time, I can see that again, it's M. So we tried 2 different ways to manipulate a data frame. Yes. Now let's do this. Let's, as a practice, please make these 2 changes. Change the final exam for Siavash, which is observation index 7. So it's not observation, so it's observation index 7 and from 0 to 349 using the first method. Yes. So right now, if I print data frame, I can see that observation index 10, final exam is 0. I don't like it. The student didn't get 0. Like maybe they took it like just a little bit late, yes? And so we want to change that number from 0 to 349. Please pause the video, do this yourself. I hope you have done this correctly. But essentially, all you got to do is to follow again this format. df dot at. So that's the first method, and then observation index, which is 10, and then observation the column name, which is final, and I want that to have the value of 349. So remember this, here I don't need a quotation mark. I need quotation mark only for strings, yes? So I just run this, and if I ask Python what is my df, now you can see that for Siavash, it's 349. That means I've done everything correctly. Perfect. Now for observation index 25, so it's not, it's a better to just mention it's index 25, yes. Observation index 25. Do this, change the name Jessinia to Jessica using the second method. So the second method tells me this, df.ilog brackets index number, which is 25, comma, inside another bracket, column index. Column index is going to be 0, yes? It's, and then I want the new name. And then I do need a quotation mark. So I'm going to inside quotation mark, I'm going to just have Jessica because it was a typo. And I do this and I take a look at df and I see that now it's Jessica. It means I've done everything correctly. Perfect. So that was just how to manipulate inside data sets. Next topic that we have is how to round a variable. Now let's take a look at this variable, let's say assignments. How many, oh my gosh, we have 5 decimals. Who cares about 5th decimal or 4th or 3rd? We don't care about those things. So let's say we want to, for example, round this observation to only 2 numbers, yes? And then I do this. So the column that I want to round it is called assignments. So again, the format is always like this. When you want to modify something, you're going to have it on the left side and right side, and then on the right side, the change that you want to make it happen. So on the left side, I have df assignments. On the right side, so equals, and then df assignments dot round 2. So that makes the change permanent. And if I ask Python what is df, now I can see that my assignments is only 2. Let's say decimals. Sometimes you want to round all the variables all at once. We do this. df equals df dot round 1. And if you do that, and here I'm making the change permanent with df equals df dot round. And if I ask Python what's df, it displays it. And now all the observations are rounded to 1 decimal. Perfect. Another thing that we want to do is to create new variables. We are familiar with how to do that, but if you want to create permanently a column named total, yes, let's say if it is the end of the semester or quarter, and then you, as a professor, I want to just make this column, which is called total, which is the sum of everything. It's sum of all the assignments, exam 1, exam 2, exam 3, and the final exam. So I want to create this column and df total. And so all I have to do is to just on the left side mention that data the column that I want to be created, which is df total. And then on the right side, I'm going to have df assignments plus df exam 1 plus df exam 2 plus df exam 3 plus df final. And that's all. Yes, I do this. And then I want to make sure that I've done everything correctly. So I'm going to ask Python, what's df head now? If I do that, I see that, oh, now I have another column, new column called total. Perfect. That's what I was hoping for. Yeah, and if I ask Python, give me information about my data set, now you can see that I have a new column called total, and then it's called, it's a floats. Yes. Now, every now and then, students might make a mistake. And for example, if they have this 349, again, don't do this, but they're going to make it like this. If you make it like this, then the column final is not going to be a numerical column anymore. It's going to be objects. And as soon as it's an object column, you can't do this. You can't create this df total because assignment exam 1, exam 2, exam 3 are float. Final is going to be objects, and you can't add objects to, let's say, floats, and you're going to fail in creating this df column total. Okay, let's do a practice here. Create a new variable called all exam, which is sum of exam 1, exam 2, exam 3. Display head of df, delete variable all exams, display head of df one more time. So we saw that deletes in Python Pandas part A. We're going to use that. And then, so pause the video now and do this, please. So I hope you have done this correctly. And so the way you want to do this is that df brackets all underscore exams. And then it's going to be like df exam 1. Oops, I made a mistake. So here brackets, quotation, exam 1 plus, and then df bracket quotation, exam 2 plus df bracket quotation, exam 3. And now I just did it. If I ask Python to show me df.head, I can see that now I have this all exams. Yes, I got like dot 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 in my data frame. What is going on? What's going on is that here I have just too many variables, and Python it just takes too much place to display that. So Python is rather than showing me exam 1, exam 2, it just says dot dot dot. Don't worry about that. Yes. Now you want to delete this variable all exams. So well, the easiest way is just to say del and then mention this df. So del space and then df column that you want to be deleted. So del df all exams. Oops, I got error. So here I have a typo. Rather than all exams, I just typed like all exam. How do I know that I have error? With this key error all exam. So I know that something is fishy about that. I go back, I correct it, I run it one more time, and now I'm gonna ask Python what is df head, and Python shows me the head of df, which is good. Perfect. Let's do a few more practices here. Extract subset only column total. We know that what with like df total we can do this, that the output is series, yes, not a data frame. If you want the output to be the data frame, yes, you need two quotation marks. So extract, let's say, column total as a data frame, and the answer is going to be this: df brackets total, and then we run it, and now you can see a little bit difference. Yes, the name of the column is mentioned here, and then everything is pretty much the same, but at the end we don't have this name total d type float 64. So there is a subtle difference between these two. This is series. When you have two brackets, it's a data frame. And there is a subtle difference between them, yes? For example, if you want, for example, average for everybody, you can say df total dot mean, yes, and then df total dot sum gives all of these numbers. And then how about if I do this, df total dot mean? Let's see what happens if we have it as a format of a data frame. Yes, I'll get the same number, but it's a little bit different. Yes, I have this D type float 64. Yes, so output is not a number anymore. Okay, so answer these two questions, pause the video, and please answer these two questions. What's the average final for everybody? What's the sum of final for everybody? I hope you have done this correctly. So the average final for everybody is going to be df bracket final, and then dot mean, and then df final. Oops, I forgot the quotation mark. Dot, let's say, sum. I can see that the mean for final is 310, and then the sum is 9,007. Perfect. Okay. Just as a reminder, just if you Python is case sensitive. So if you say, for example, use lowercase total mean, you get an error. Python tells you I don't have a column called total. If you want like a subset of multiple columns at the same time, now it must be a data frame. So df brackets final and total. Now I'm subsetting these two columns. Yes, again we had this in part one. I'm subsetting a part of data frame, final and total, and then if you want their averages, you can say df final comma total dot mean, and you get the let's say mean for final and total at the same time. Perfect. Now, just let's get to know our data frame a little bit more. For example, you want to see how many students in total we have. Yes, how many male students we have, how many female students we have. So this one gives me number of observations, And then how many genders we have? It's like M and F. I mean, how many values inside each gender? So we have 18 male students and 11 female students. If you are interested only number of male students, you say DF gender. So the column, the categorical column dot value counts, which is M, and then we do this, and the answer is going to be a number, which is 18. Yes, number of male students that we have. And the next one, if you are interested in number of, let's say, female students, all you got to do is to change this to df gender dot value counts f. Yes. So as a practice, please do this. How many, let's say, freshman students do we have? So just freshman students, yes? Please do this as a practice. How many freshman students? Pause the video and do this. So for that, I'm going to say DF and then year. If I just do this, I'm going to get column year. And then on the top of that, I can say DF year dot value counts and parentheses. And gives me this 12 junior, 8 freshman, 6 sophomore, and 3 seniors. Yes. And then if I ask Python, let's say, what is number of, let's say, freshman student, all I got to do is this. And in brackets, freshman. Yes. So in bracket, inside quotation, freshman. And that's going to be the answer, which is 8 students. Perfect. Now, next topic that we have is this. Create a new conditional column. Create a column which is called grade. And if total is greater than 900, it's going to be A. If total is greater than 800, it's going to be B. If total is greater than 700, it's C. Greater than 600 is D. And otherwise, it's F. Yes. So I want, and so if I take a look at DF right now, or df.head, I don't have this column grade. Yes. Now, again, as a professor, it's end of the quarter, end of the semester. I want to give alphabetical grades to my students. Now, I want to create this column. So I want to give A to students who got more than 900, B to students who got more than 800, but less than 900, C to students who got more than 700, but less than or equal to 800. And greater than 600, but less than or equal to 700, D, and then otherwise F. So how can I do that? Again, we have done this in first part. You're going to create a column, a function call, a function. You can call that function whatever you want to call it. Yes. So remember how we can create functions with keyword def, define, space, name of the function. I want to call my function banana. Absolutely meaningless name. You can do that. And then inside parentheses, num. Num is just the inputs. And then colon, and the Python does indentation automatically for you. I'm going to say if num is greater than 900, colon, return A. Elif, which means else if num is greater than 800, colon, return B. If num greater than 700, colon, return C. If num greater than 600, colon, return D. Else, return F. So else means just otherwise, just whatever that we didn't cover here. Okay, that's good. And then again, remember this, Python executes this from top to bottom. And as soon as one of the criteria is executed, one of the condition is met, Python is going to stop reading the rest of that. So if number is greater than 900, Python is going to return A, and it's not going to even read the rest of it. But so the only way that Python gets to this point is that the first criteria, which is num is greater than 900, is not met. That also is hidden in the word elif or else if. Yes. So we created this function. We are going to run this. And again, since the code is extended to multiple codes, you have to select everything and then run it. And now that we have this function, so again, this function has nothing to do with this data frame df. This is just a function. And you can say, for example, even like, don't use this, just do this, banana, and then let's say 857, yes, banana 857, and Python returns B, yes. So the function is not linked to the data frame at all, but just, so here we call function or execute function on, let's say, number 857. And now we just saw that the function works well. Now that we know that the function works well, you can apply the function to this data frame. How can I do that? So here we are creating a new conditional column. So the new conditional column is called, we want to call it grade. It's based on column total. So I'm going to say on the left side, the column that we want to be created is going to be on the left side. So df bracket quotation grade equals. Then I want it to be based on column total. So I'm going to say df bracket quotation total dot apply banana, which is the name of the function. And then if I ask Python to show me this df, now I have this new column grade, which is a fantastic thing. Yes. So I have all students grade, and I can just submit their alphabetical grades. I don't have to do it like for each student, just one by one. As a practice, please do this. How many people got A, B, C, D, or F? And it's a one-line code. Just in one line, just tell me this. And again, it's going to be a value count. So df brackets grade. If you do this, Python just gives you this series of grades. Then you say dot value counts, and I run this. Oops, I didn't get anything useful. Why not? Because I forgot the parentheses. But if you do parentheses, you can see that I have 17B, 10 students got A, 1 F, unfortunately, and 1 C. Perfect. Now, let's do a practice yourself, yes? Create a function, call it peach. It takes only one value, X. If X equals 200, output is full, and otherwise it returns partial. So, and then create a new column called status by applying function peach to column assignments. So essentially, we have this data frame, yes? Look at the assignments. Usually it's like the maximum is 200. Some students got 200, some students got less than 200. I want to create a column called status. If they got full score on assignments, which is 200, I want that column status to be called full. Otherwise, if they got anything less than that, otherwise, there's nothing more than 200. But otherwise, I want that column to be called partial. So first, I had to create this function. Again, it's going to be exactly like this function that we have all over here. So if you have any doubts, follow this function. It's going to be very similar to this. So I'm going to say def space. The function rather than banana, I want to be called peach. Open the parentheses. Rather, I can call it that input num, or here I'm going to just call it x. It doesn't matter whatsoever. Then put the colon, hit enter. And then I'm going to say if x equals 200, then comma. Why equals? Again, whenever you want to compare a variable with a value or with another variable, you use equal. So comparison needs equal. When you want to assign a value to a variable, you use only one equal sign. Okay, I do this, and then if x equals 200, and I ask Python to return full. And then I say else, colon, return partial. And that's it. That's the function, yes? So do this. And again, just this is a practice for yourself. Please do this yourself. Just pause the video if you haven't done this. That's how you learn Python, yes, with coding. Create a new column called status by applying function peach to column assignments, yes? So df, the column that I want to be created is called status, yes? Equals. So it's a based on column assignments. I'm going to just copy and paste this. Dot apply. So again, the format is exactly like this. So I take a look at this, and that gives me some like help with the syntax. Apply, and then the function rather than banana is called here peach. And then just run this. And then you can take a look at df head to make sure that we have done that correctly. Now you can see that status is like if assignments was 185, status is partial. For these 200s, we have full. Or you can take a look at, like, let's say, first 8 observations, and then you can see that whenever it's 200 is full, otherwise it's partial. Perfect. How many full and how many partials do we have? Again, I'm going to say df status dot value counts, and then parentheses. So as you can see that I have 16 students who got partial score on assignments, and 13 students who got full score. And then delete the column status. Yes, so it was just a practice. I don't want to carry that variable. So I'm going to say del, and then df status. Run that. I'm going to ask Python df head to make sure that now this column is gone. Perfect, it's gone. Awesome. And we can easily change the name of columns. So, for example, I want to change the column name assignments to HW, homework. Yes, assignments is just big name. I don't want it. So how can we do this? Again, we have seen this before. On the left side, df, and then equals. Then on the right side, df dot rename, and then columns equals the old name, obviously enclosed in quotation marks, colon, new name. So again, the format is this on the right side, df.rename, parentheses, columns equals, and then you pass in a dictionary. Yes. And inside that dictionary, the key is going to be, let's say, old column name, colon, new column name. So I just do this and I run df now. And I see that now rather than assignments, I have HW. Wonderful. As a practice, please pause the video and do these questions yourself. Change the column name gender to sex. Now, and after that, turn it back to gender. Yes. So pause the video, do this. Hopefully I've done this correctly. So I'm going to say df equals, again, I'm going to just like follow this format, or even I can just copy and paste it. Yes, why not? Let's do this. And then, so the column that we already have, gender, is going to be on the left side. And the column that I want to be created, sex, is going to be on the right side. And run this. I'm going to ask Python to show me df.head. Now I can see that rather than gender, I have sex. Great. Now turn it back to gender. One more practice. So again, I'm going to just copy and paste everything from here to here, then change these two. So I'm going to have sex on the left side and gender on the right side. And I'm going to run this and run this. And I see that again, it's gender. Perfect. Great. Okay, let's do a few more things. Conditional selection. So here the goal is that we want to select some columns based on some conditions. So I want to select a subset of data set that, for example, we have some conditions there. Yes. First of all, let's select only female students. Yes. How can I do this? Select only female students. So the general format conditional selection is this. Yes, the syntax is df brackets condition. So if I want only female students to be selected, I'm going to say df brackets and then condition. What's the condition? Condition is that gender must be F. So I'm going to say df bracket gender equals F. Yes. Now I can see that I got a subset of my data frame that's it's only female students. Yes. Now, as a practice, you do this. As a practice, please select a subset of df, which includes only freshmen. Okay, pause the video. Please do this. Yes. Please do this yourself. It's a very good practice. Select the subset of df, which includes only df. Okay, I've done this. Hopefully, you have done this correctly. The answer is this. So you say df bracket, and then here I want to mention the condition. Yes, so I'm going to say this. df year equals freshman. Yes. And because I don't want to make a typo, I'm going to just copy the word freshman. And if you run this, you get only freshman students. Yes. So let's do just do one more practice yourself. Yes. Select a subset of df, which includes only students who got 200 on HW. So please do this yourself. Pause the video, do this. Select a subset of DF, which includes only students who got 200 on HW. So the answer is, again, is this, DF bracket, and then condition. Condition is this, DF homework. Oops, I have a typo there. DF brackets, quotation, HW equals 200. And that gives me only students. And if you take a look at this, you can see that we got only students who got HW 200. Perfect. And then one last, let's say, practice. Again, do this yourself. Select a subset of DF, which includes, let's say, students with total greater than 850. Yes, pause the video and do this, please. So it's going to be, the answer is going to be this. DF bracket and then condition. So the condition is going to be this. DF total and then equals, no, not equal, greater than 850. And just run this. And now you can see that only students who got 850 or more, like more than 850, they have been selected on this. Perfect. In many cases, we have more than conditions. Yes, if you have two conditions, if you have two conditions, you want to do something like this. So, for example, you have condition 1, condition 2, and in between conditions, we have either and or. So if it is and, you say DF brackets condition 1 inside parentheses and condition 2 inside parentheses. And if you want or, it's going to be exactly the same format, but rather than and, we have or. So let's do a few of these. And so how many, let's say I want only female students who got, let's say, female students who got grade A. So it's going to be something like this. Again, condition 1, they're female. Condition 2, they got A on grade A. So I'm going to say DF, like inside parentheses, DF gender equals F, and DF grade equals A. Next one, females who got either like observation score, like either female. So this was, and this one is or student who got A. So either they're female or they got A on the final exam. And I do this, so I get female students no matter what's their grade, and or like students who got A. So if they're male, they're going to be here only if they got like A. Perfect. So let's do this. Let's, as a practice, please do this. Subsets all female freshmen. So please pause the video and do this yourself. Subset all female freshmen. Perfect. So the answer is going to be this: DF brackets, then condition 1, and then condition 2. So inside this, I'm going to have, inside the first parentheses, I'm going to have condition 1, which is female, and then inside the second parentheses, I'm going to have the second condition, which is freshman. So here inside first parentheses, I'm going to say DF gender equals F. Second one, sometimes like my students make this mistake that they have this equals inside this. No, here you're going, it doesn't work like this. Yes, you must select column gender like this, df bracket quotation gender, and then you must say equals F. In that case, that's right. Yes. Second one, df bracket quotation year equals freshman. Yes. And you run that, you get only one, we have only one female freshman. Yes. Perfect. Um, just one more practice. Subset all male students who got 545 or more on exam 2. Okay, so pause the video, please, and do this. Subset all male students who got 145 or more on exam 2. I hope you have done this correctly. So I do this. DF, again, this is an and question, yes. DF brackets, one parenthesis for the first condition and another parenthesis for second condition. So I'm going to say all male students. So I'm going to say DF gender equals M. Second condition is that DF exam 2 is greater than or equal 145. And that's it. Let's see what's going on. I didn't get any observations. So maybe we change this to 135 and let's see if we get any. Okay. So yeah, do this, please. 135. That makes more sense. Perfect. Okay, so let's move on. Conditional average. And, so I have like more ands as practices, but it doesn't matter, like and or. The only difference is here you have or, which is vertical line, but uh, yeah, so it's going to be, the only difference is that here we have or. So they're actually the same, yes, but the format is the same, just rather than and we have or. And then on the top of this, on the top of subsetting a data, we can do some operations. For example, we want average or sum or count. Just conditional average, conditional sum, conditional count. This is equivalent to average ifs, sum ifs, and count ifs in Excel. For example, let's subset all the female students. This is all the female students. Let's take a look at, for example, subset of the female students final exam. Yes, I want let's take a look at all female students only final exams. So I can do this. The answer is going to be the same thing on the female students. But here I want to just take a look at their final exam. I don't want to see the whole data set. So I'm going to say same thing, final. Yes. And then if I want the average, I just say df, same thing, dot mean. And it tells me that the mean is 302. So that's just the way we can do this. And if you have two conditions, you can do that as well. Count, average, and sum of final for females who got grade A. So my data set, I'm going to focus on only very smart females. Yes, I mean, I'm going to focus on female students who got A, grade A. Yes. So here I have DF and then condition one, gender equals F, and condition two, grade equals A. That's a subset of data set that I want. How many students we have like that? We have 4 students, index 2, 11, 24, 27. And now, off the top of that, I want, for example, see how many observations I have. I know it's 4, but in practical, again, examples, when you have a billion observations, you don't want to count them like one by one. So all you got to say is this, same thing. So this is a data frame. Yes, this is a data frame. The output is a data frame. Now you want to count how many observations you have in your data frame. All you're going to do is to say this, dot shape 0. Yes, we had that before. Let's just run this. And I see that I have 4 observations over there. That's a great thing. Okay, next one is this. Next one, I want to see the average for final exam for these A female students. So I'm going to say the same thing, yes, right here, and then final dot mean gives me the mean of final exam for all the female students who got A, 331. And then if I want the sum of the final exam, so I just do the same thing, but rather than dot mean, I'll do dot sum. So these are equal to count ifs, average ifs, and sum ifs in Excel. Now, as a practice, please do these 2 questions yourself. Yes. How many male students got 300 or better on final exam? What's the average total for all male students who got 300 or better on final exam? So pause the video and answer these 2 questions yourself. It's a very good practice. Okay, let's answer these 2 questions. First, DF bracket conditions. How many conditions do we have? Male students who got 300 or more or better on final exam. So we have 2 conditions, 1 parentheses, and then it's going to be and students who got 300 or better on final exam. So condition number 1, gender must be M. Yes, so I'm going to say DF gender. This must be M. Condition 2, final exam must be greater or equal to 300. Again, note that for numbers, we don't need quotation marks, as always. So here I got the subset of my data frame, all male students. So if you take a look at gender, it's all M. And then the final exam is all of them are greater than 300. And if you want, for example, the number of observations here, all you're going to do is this, copy this, and then say dot shape bracket 0. So first get the subset of data frame, and then just do the operation that you're interested, yes? So in 2 steps, you can do this easily. Next question is this, what's the average total for all male students who got 300 or better on final exam? So again, my focus is going to be this, all male students who got 300 or better on final exam, which is the same thing I had over here. Yes, all male students who got 300 or better on final exam. And then I'm going to focus on the total exam. So I need total here. And then I want the average. So the average is going to be 881.56 for all of those male students. Yes. So this is a very good practice how to find a subset of a data frame. And you can always find like you can do this stuff. Just one last practice. Let's do it with or, yes. How many how many male or let's say junior students. So I have a typo here, junior students do we have? Yes. So it means either they are male or they got, let's say, they are junior. Yes. If they're female, only if I want to count them, or if they are, for example, junior students. So again, first df bracket condition one. So this is or, and you hold, like in my keyboard, you hold shift and it's the bottom above return, and then condition two. So condition one is that gender equals M, and condition two is that year equals junior. So first I run this. I get this subset. Again, not all observations here. For example, observation index 2 is not here. But I got all the male students. They're female only if they are junior students. So again, look at this female, this one, this one. And then if you want just the count of them, all you have to do is to copy and paste this, let's say, and then say just shape 0, and you can just count them. I have 23 students like that. Perfect. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening, and have a great time.